and it's opened up my eyes to ensuring that we continue to challenge stereotypes of the continent, because I find that there is that weird kind of thing, like, is it safe for women? You've seen me do it, you're living here, we're doing good.
Hello everyone, it's Iveoma, your guide to Africa, and today I am chatting with Hannah. Hannah's a BBC journalist. I can't believe I get to chat with her today.
I can't believe I'm on your channel. I'm shaking right now.
What?
I'm trying to compose myself.
I'm so excited. You know, I met Hannah in a returnees group, and I saw her on TV.
Yeah.
Here, talking about Nigerian, the flooding.
Yes.
Hannah has recently traveled throughout West Africa as a solo trip.
You know, I made this plan maybe about solid planning 5 months before leaving the UK.
What plan?
So the plan to solo travel around West Africa, indeed, as a female, can't help but just look back and think, I did it. I'm so proud of me. And I really hope that through these conversations, through me documenting the journey, that inspires others to do the same.
Absolutely.
And, you know, experience it for themselves, like what you're doing as well. So yeah.
No, I think that's amazing. Why did you choose West Africa?
The past year plus, I've solely been working at BBC Africa. So that is literally just digesting African news every single day, to the point where you feel as though you literally know so much about these countries. Not only was I working on these stories and learning so much about the country, I was also connecting with other journalists that are on the ground living there, and utilizing social media to the point that I could name you 5 different Gambian bloggers, same as Sierra Leone and Senegal and etc. So it made it more normal, because I was being exposed to it without physically going there. So I thought the only thing that's missing is for you to find accommodation. You've already got your connections, and go.
You had this idea 5 months before you actually left.
Yes.
So you didn't save that much.
Okay. A secret.
Okay, yes. I was wondering that.
I didn't save a penny when I left. Not even up to £300.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and guys, I promise I'm not crazy. I don't have a sugar daddy and none of that, yeah? It's a slight risk, but I'm not crazy, right? 2 months before I left, I was already freelancing. So I already made the decision to freelance. I didn't reapply for my role, which is a normal in BEEB standard. After a year and a bit, you'll reapply for it just to open it up for other people that want to do it. So it's basically applying for your job again. And my editor noticed that I hadn't, and she just pulled me to the side. Beautiful Nigerian woman, love her to bits. And she said, Hannah, wedding day, you didn't apply for the job. And then that's when I basically told her. And I think when I told her, it made it more real. Mm-hmm. And I told her in September with the decision to go in December.
Okay.
So she said, oh, please, you know, we still want you on the team working. So I was practically working about 6 days a week. I'm getting money. And that continued up until I left. So I already knew that I had paychecks that were waiting for me.
Yeah, that's true.
All the invoices were set. So I guess that was my little safety blanket of like, I know I'm going to get paid, but I have not left with a bag of money. But I was earning as I was going. I was never without, but I was genuinely living within my means. If I wanted to go out with friends, I could have. If I wanted to go to the beach or etc. I wasn't spending a lot of money, barely spent money on accommodation as well. And I'm so thankful, because like, honestly, this experience has taught me to be so financially savvy. Obviously, the pandemic, not going out as much as well, adds to that. But just really learning about the value of money. I didn't save, but I was earning because I was working as well as traveling. I was working on a few commissions that were already secured. So a commission in journalism language is when you've made an agreement on content that you will produce and you will definitely get paid for.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you planned and then you went freelance, and then you were also working throughout West Africa. So whatever country you were in.
I was working.
So let's tell me about the countries that you visited.
So I left on the 27th of December and I went from London to Accra, capital Ghana. So that was the first stop for me. My beautiful parents dropped me off.
Wait, let's talk about your parents. What did your parents say?
Listen, I was sort of telling them in bite sizes. I was telling them, I'm thinking of doing this. I'm planning towards doing this. Meanwhile, plans have already been set in motion. And I told them about a month before. Yeah. Most of my friends as well, and, you know, close colleagues and etc. Because I'm the type of person, I'm very secure in my decisions. It was very prayer-led. Like, I consulted God about it a lot. And I don't like too many opinions in my head. You know, like when you tell someone something, it's
Same,
like,
Hannah.
And it's like, are you putting money into my account? No.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I don't like too many opinions. Obviously, their best intentions are at heart. I was talking to both of them, and I was on loudspeaker, I think my dad went first. He was, oh, that's good. That's great. Well done. But my mum just said 4 words and 4 words only. You are a woman. Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about that. Okay, wait. Let's name the countries that you've been to and then talk about your experience as a woman in those countries.
Absolutely. So it was 5 in total. Yeah, great question. Really helps to strip it down. So the first stop was Ghana, and I know very well. So what I really liked about going there, it was familiar ground for me. So it was a great place just to begin. I was going in the dirty December time.
Perfect.
So it was ridiculous how many of my friends I saw. I bumped into them more in Accra, Ghana than I would in London, where we all live.
That's so funny.
That was just such an immediate security and safety blanket. And I stayed in a very central part of Accra. Great to have perks with accommodation throughout my travels. So my sister-in-law works in hotels and hooked me up with a lovely hotel. So I stayed there. And what I loved about it security-wise is that whenever I went out with my friends or came back home with my friends early hours of the morning, because my hotel was in a central area, they always passed by me to go where they were going and vice versa.
That's perfect.
Which was really good. So security, I don't know. Accra's a very, very safe place, but it is a bit unfortunate that during the time when I did bump into other people that had been there for the first time, things did happen.
What do you mean by things?
Sexual assault,
Really?
one female friend, a male friend robbed in daylight at an ATM, another female friend out for dinner with her boyfriend at a popular restaurant in Accra, held at gunpoint for money.
At the restaurant?
Babe, a very popular one as well.
It's because it was December time.
And it's really unfortunate because it's one of the most solo friendly places to go. It is such a chill city, Accra, particularly.
Really?
So that was really shocking. But I felt like, them telling me that is a reminder, like, Hannah, even though you've been here 5 times, come on. I know that you go out here a lot and you've been here a few times, you're very immersed in the culture, but wake up. Even though it's unfortunate what happened to my friends, I felt like them trusting me and telling me what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is their way of saying, Hannah, I'm leaving in a couple of weeks. You're going to be here for the rest of this half of the year, so just be careful.
Yeah.
So I definitely bear that in mind. But Ghana generally is such a crazy safe place. There's not one person I wouldn't recommend it to.
After Ghana, what was the next country?
After Ghana, I went to Sierra Leone,
Ooh.
and absolutely gorgeous. I felt like that's where the journey really began because I was in unfamiliar ground. I had never been there before, and I also had a returnee friend called Yasmin who moved back, and I loved how she documented it as well. Another thing to add, before I left the UK, I did take self-defense classes.
Okay.
And I bought pepper spray.
Okay.
But I think it's important to not prepare for something bad to happen, but also be logical, just in case, God forbid. Sierra Leone, I felt very well looked after because not only was I staying in my friend's family home with her amazing mum, who basically became my Sierra Leonean mum. Honestly, hand on heart, there was not one moment where I felt unsafe or felt very aware. I never doubted my safety.
So what's your next country?
The Gambia is absolutely amazing. Hand on heart is my favourite out of every country.
Really?
Yeah.
So many people are going there now.
So many people are moving back. So many people are investing in property, real estate, just so many things, businesses and stuff. Gambia, I'd go back in a heartbeat. It would be very easy for me to live there. Very freeing. The security isn't so that you feel like, because it's very
not oppressive
at all. The population size is super tiny. English is quite wide, but the local languages are quite easy to pick up. Like, I remember so many things in the local languages.
Wait, what
so
was
that
the
made
local
me
language?
Mostly Wolof,
okay.
Mandinka, Fuller, and a couple of others, but I would say those 3 are very common, but very easy to pick up. And the reason why I think it's important to pick up the local language is that you feel more security being able to converse with taxi drivers.
Yeah.
And I felt more settled and immersed.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. No bad experiences.
What was the next destination?
It was Senegal. So I spent my time mostly in the capital, Dakar. My experience will be completely different to yours. I was learning French along the way because honestly, again, the people I spoke to did not speak English.
What about Wolof though?
Wolof is also there, yes.
Okay.
So Wolof definitely helped me quite a bit. I stayed in a local area, but there'll be times I'd go out to the city where people spoke more French rather than Wolof. So it depends where you are. But every black Senegalese person I spoke to and who you'd most likely speak to could also speak Wolof, so it was a mixture of things. So language barriers were a little bit tricky. I had a bit of Airbnb drama. So the first Airbnb host was quite misogynistic, and it just made me a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I stayed for 2 nights because I never felt like I was in danger. I just thought he was a bit of an a-hole. But I'm very thankful for my friend that gave me advice. Book the first 2 nights. If you don't like it, you can go. If you do, you can extend. So I moved to a second Airbnb, which was absolutely lovely.
And the host
was so nice. The day after that, I just decided to go solo to the beach. And I thought, I've not checked out the balcony. That's part of my room. And I checked it out, nice view. To my left, I see that I have neighbours. Go back in, try to lock the balcony, but it won't lock. And my neighbours are 2 guys.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out of the shower and seeing them standing on my balcony and staring at me.
Standing at whose balcony?
Staring at my balcony. So I'm sharing that same balcony.
Wait.
Because you know some accommodations,
oh my
it'll be 2 rooms
I
next to each other, but you share the same balcony.
And you couldn't lock that door?
It didn't lock. The lock was broken. When they noticed that I saw them, thankfully I wasn't naked or anything, they looked away or turned away. They were smoking, but they were staring through my window. I had my Airbnb host on WhatsApp and I said, oh, hey, this lock doesn't work. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, it'll be fixed in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
So that was my cue to say, gotta find another Airbnb, because there was no other room that he could move me into.
Yeah.
And as I said, I wanted to go to the beach that day. So I guess I just took that risk. I took my most valuable things with me in my little beach bag, and I headed to the beach. I had an amazing day at the beach. Literally, it was meant to be a solo trip, but I met a girl from the States on the way there who introduced me to one of her Senegalese friends and another person from the States, and we all painted on the beach, ate, drank, and the sunset came, but I made sure I went home before it was dark, which is like my standard, like when I'm out alone. Came back, thankfully my belongings were fine, but at this point I was just getting a bit annoyed because I've moved from Airbnb to Airbnb, and the thing about when you're moving around, you don't really feel settled.
No, you don't.
And it's quite stressful. So I'm thankful that I had my girl Amina. She was always checking up on me because she knew I was by myself. So that's one thing that's really nice, and I highly recommend always having not a guardian, but I don't know how to explain it. A connect, like someone that knows your address of where you're staying. And I've done that in every country, apart from here in Nigeria, because I'm staying with family.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's basically my guardian. So, but every other place that I went to, I would send the address to someone, because there's no point sending it to people in London. What are you going to do? Which I highly recommend for peace of mind, because God forbid, if anything was to happen to you,
I know,
someone else can account for you.
Yes.
So Amina was mine, because I didn't know that much people in Senegal. Yeah, it's just annoying that I had to find a third Airbnb, which I did, and that was the best. It was home, it was safe, it was right next to the most amazing tropical fruit market stall. I got my fresh bread in the morning opposite my house. It was great.
So wait, it sounds like you did have a good time in Senegal though, or Dakar.
I did have a wonderful time despite the little hiccups. Friends asked me what was like one of the most scariest points, or did anything happen that was a bit and it was actually my last night in Dakar. This was when I was preparing to go from there to Lagos, and I needed to take out extra cash for the taxi driver who was driving me all the way to the airport. So I said to Amina, could you get that taxi to just drop me to the ATM? I'm going to take out cash and it drops me back home, and then it'll take you home, because the route works well. And she was like, yeah, sure. And she drops me with the taxi, and I said, okay, I'll just be a moment. Go to the ATM, take out cash, turn around, the car's gone. Pitch black, right next to a motorway.
Just abandoned you.
He literally just abandoned me. And she called me and she was shouting at him in Wolof, like, what the F? And then he was saying, oh, sorry, he misunderstood. It's too late now, he can't turn back.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
And this is nighttime.
It is
you
nighttime.
Just took out money from an ATM.
Correct.
And now you don't have a taxi.
I do not, and I'm completely stranded. I'm right next to a motorway, I remember. But I needed to cross to go to the other side to go my way home, to call a taxi from there. So I had to dangerously walk in the middle of the road. So
what Hannah means by a motorway is like all these, it's like a giant highway, like these giant, massive...
Cars just going like...
And cars fly here, there's no speed limit. I mean, are there speed limits? I have never...
the way they drive, I don't think there is.
Okay. So they're flying, and it's no light. It's very dangerous. You don't... You go out of your way never to cross a motorway.
So I just made sure I was very careful crossing the road, obviously. And then, it just got to the awkward bit where I was standing in the middle of the motorway. There was like a tiny little... and
people were honking at you.
Yeah, like people were honking at me, asking me if I was crazy.
Yeah.
When a taxi is free, the light will be on. Okay. If it's not free, it will be off. So I'm the only one there. There's literally no one around me. I was probably walking up and down for 2 minutes and a bit, but it felt so long. And thankfully, I saw a taxi with the light on, and I just went. And then he pulled over, walked in the middle of the dangerous road, and got in. I greeted him in Wolof, said thank you, literally said where I was going, which is like a landmark. I live opposite a very popular mosque. And then I noticed immediately as I got in that he had someone in the passenger seat. And I think that person was the problem, because he was a man that his eyes were glued the second I entered the car. Wow.
The passenger and the driver were both looking at me. First of all, the driver, let me tell you about drivers in Nigeria, even though this is aside, they never look at you. They only look at the money. Did you give them money?
Care.
They don't
care. Is it a cash or card trip?
Yes.
Okay, bye. That's the only time they look at me.
They literally, so drivers here in Nigeria do not look at you ever.
They don't care.
Ever.
They
don't look at you ever.
Run.
If a driver in Nigeria looks at you for more than, I would say, 2-3 seconds,
it's a problem.
It's a problem. You need to get out of there. And if a passenger and a driver were looking at you, so what I did was this. I said, I calmed down.
Yeah.
And then I waited until the car kind of was going over a slow bump, and I opened the door and I jumped out. Wow. I had to. I've never seen that before. How's a driver in Nigeria looking at me? And the passenger. No.
Did they say anything?
They just looked at me.
Wow.
Really hard. The driver looked at me the whole time, and I was like, this is
gross.
So in Nigeria there's this thing called one chance. So one chance means there's like you entered a taxi or a bus, and that's the one chance they're gonna rob you. Yes, I jumped out of that taxi. That was a slightly scary moment here.
I'm sorry, but I'm just so happy that you came out okay and stuff.
Oh no, I'm fine. But I had to jump out because it was just, safety was like alert.
And what did you do after that? You just continued walking?
I jumped out and then got in another taxi. No, he didn't even stop. That's how I knew it was a joke. How does somebody jump out of your car, bro, and you don't even brake? That's what I'm saying. He was a criminal. You're in Senegal.
Yeah, so
you're in Dakar, and you enter this taxi with money, and the driver and passenger are looking at you. Correct. That's never a good sign.
So the driver was cool though.
Okay.
So I think that's what put my mind at ease. He was very much so like any other taxi driver, wanting to know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I told him. I was speaking to him in Wolof and broken French because my French isn't that good. But the passenger was a fully French-speaking person. And when he was glued to me, it was to the point where he took off his seatbelt and he was just looking at me like that. Like, he was completely looking. And I kept on saying, oh, no comprends, like I couldn't understand what he was saying. I was basically saying, oh, je parle français un peu, like I can't really speak French. So just stop talking to me, basically. And then I went on my phone, and another thing that I do all the time is I always make sure that I check the maps to see that I'm going to the correct place.
Absolutely.
All the time. And I could see that I clearly was. And the driver was very much so doing his job. Okay. But the passenger just wouldn't stop. And I remember being on my phone, and he actually reached to take my phone from me because he wanted to talk to me, the passenger.
No.
And I said, no, like what the heck? And I just continued going on my phone. At this point, we're a couple of miles away from my house. And it's mad how like learning French and speaking French can be two different things. There'll be things that you know what it is in French, but
you can't
saying
say it. Yeah.
And I heard the passenger say to the driver, should we take her? Sorry, another bit. Should we take her? It will be quick.
He said,
should we take her?
He said this in French to the driver.
Yeah.
Should we take her? It will be quick.
Yes. Got that bit. It will be quick.
Wow.
And I think the most chilling bit for me was realizing that myself and the driver had locked eyes in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, because you looked up.
And not knowing what his eyes meant.
He had no expression in his face.
No expression. And I think my response was just to continuously be calm. But I think the biggest thing for me was once I realized that I was very close to the mosque, which is opposite my house. And naturally, because if I walked, it would have been a 30-second walk to my house as opposed to the 10-second walk. So I just said, it's here, let me off. He stops the car immediately. I dashed him the money, and the passenger was still calling after me when I left the car, which was so gross. But I'm very grateful that it didn't end so many other ways that it could have ended.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
That I was calm. I don't know how it would have been if I reacted differently.
No, you have to be calm in those situations.
But it didn't end in a bad way, or it didn't ruin it, but it just opened up my eyes even further to just being mindful, being careful, and being grateful. But I think it can happen anywhere. It really can.
Senegal, what was your next country?
Right here.
Nigeria. Okay, you spent a month in each country, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and now I'm here where I've spent the longest amount of time because of the Rona.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, I didn't have any solid travel plans from Nigeria. So Nigeria was going to be my little area for respite, relax. Okay, now let's see what I can do if I want to travel or see other places for the rest of my time here. It's been great connecting with returnees like yourself. So I'm very thankful for what it's just taught me about myself, about independence. It excites me to want to see more, and it's opened up my eyes to ensuring that we continue to challenge stereotypes of the continent, because I find that there is that weird kind of thing, like, is it safe for women? You've seen me do it, you're living here. We're doing good. We're not a niche.
Would you recommend other women start solo traveling?
No, absolutely. My experience has honestly just changed my life.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's just been so eye-opening. So I would definitely encourage that. I think with a bit of research, a bit of Googles, find out really cool, interesting facts, find a few places that you've always been interested to see in that African country, and just go for it, you know? And reaching out. That's what I love about social media. It's so normal to have conversations with people that you don't actually know properly.
That's true.
They can give you all the tips, advice. YouTube is such a resourceful tool. I didn't actually look at a lot of YouTube videos of people, but I look at a lot of them now, which is really cool.
What country was the cheapest for you to navigate? Like the most inexpensive country?
I would definitely say Sierra Leone.
Oh, really? Not the Gambia?
Not the Gambia. I would say the Gambia would probably come second.
Okay.
Because I found I was very sociable in the Gambia. I mean, I was spending a bit more. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Sierra Leone, it was a mixture of social, chill, and etc. And yeah, it was very cheap because the currency, I think, was the weakest out of all of the ones that I went to. And haggling is just such a natural part of movement, as in all of them, but you can really get prices down. If there's not one taxi driver you agree with, if he drives off, another will come behind, and there's a likelihood that he'll take a cheaper price. I wasn't spending a lot on transport as well. Accommodation there is expensive, but that's obviously not anything that I experienced because I was living with family. But considering the fact that I was out practically every single day, whether it was work or for meetings or for meals or for outings, I was not breaking the bank in the slightest. The Gambia after that, and again, this is just based on my experience in this particular time.
I'm just curious.
Absolutely. And I would say in the middle, we'll probably go with Nigeria. I would say. Generally just not spending a lot of money. And then fourth, most expensive, I would definitely say Accra.
Yeah, I heard Accra was more expensive than Nigeria.
In 2 weeks in Accra was close to 4 weeks in another country. And the most expensive goes to
Dakar, for real?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Whoa, I didn't know it was that expensive.
It is expensive, Lord. I'm so thankful that my accommodation wasn't expensive, considering the fact that I stayed in 3 different ones. Dakar is expensive depending on where exactly you are. So many of my colleagues told me about that, so I braced that. But I would say it was more expensive than any of the countries I went to.
So what are your tips for women who want to travel solo throughout West Africa?
Yeah, so I would definitely say have a rough kind of plan. Personally, I would never go to West Africa to find myself unless I want to sell like fan ice cream on the expressway, because, you know, ish got real.
No, you need to have a plan.
You need to have a plan or some sort of security. Secondly, as well as planning, connections. Because I know there's always that thing about it's about who you know. It's correct. My example is that before leaving, I'd already built relationships with people virtually. So Instagram.
That's true.
DMs, emails,
IG is kind of awesome here.
Messaging. You know, I got some WhatsApp numbers from people. I would ask the most randomest of questions, and it was nice that I had my people that I could always ask stuff to. So just having someone that you can go to. So connections can mean so many different things. from people that live there that can tell you everything about it, the truth.
I met you in a WhatsApp group.
Exactly. We took our conversations outside of the WhatsApp group.
That's true.
Because we had common interests. So there's so many different ways to build that. But connections will definitely help you. And sometimes reassurance. So there'll be random times in Gambia when I'm in newer areas that I don't yet know. And I want to make sure that I'm paying the right price for a taxi and that I'm not being ripped off.
Yeah.
So I always had my friend Mamadou, and I'd message him, and he's super responsive on WhatsApp. He will respond in 20 seconds. And I said, hey, how much should it cost from A to B? And he said this and nothing more. Again, I think the beauty of social media and the internet is that so many people are having conversations with people that they haven't yet met before. So just feeling very free and open to have those. So yeah, 1, a roughish plan. Doesn't have to be crazy PowerPoint led. 2, connections. And 3, I would definitely say financial stability. So
you left with 300 pounds.
Listen. But I knew I would be getting paid along the way.
Okay, that's true.
Absolutely.
You freelance throughout Africa.
Exactly. So there's that stability of knowing I am getting paid. Because a month later, I had 4 times the amount that I left with in my account because there was money that was waiting. And that continued and continued. I got a job, a placement with an NGO based in Gambia. So I'm working remotely for them. So I have an additional stream of income, which is amazing. Like, I didn't even plan for that. It just happened. Again, connections, going back to point number 2. My financial stability was working along the way. And again, I live in an expensive city. And before I left, I didn't make any crazy sacrifices. Like, I'm only going to eat peanuts for a month, because I wanted to enjoy. December's a very festive season. I'm a very Christmassy person, so I was doing so many lunches and brunches and dinners and goodbye things with all my friends. The month before I left, I was also in Southeast Asia. I went to Singapore and Bali. So I didn't have time to save. So I made sure that I was putting in that work and ensuring that I was getting paid well, which I have done and still done till this day. So it depends whether you're saving or whether you're ensuring that you're going to get a flow of income. So those are my 3 definites.
I think that's wonderful. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I would say, me journalistically, I'm really big on challenging stereotypes, and I think that's one thing that I've been big about in all of my work, all of my interviews that I've done for the Beeb and other organisations. But the big thing about challenging stereotypes is that it gives others a keen interest in what the country is about. There's been people that have asked me stuff like, oh, I didn't know there were beaches in Nigeria. Like, honestly, I've been asked stuff like that all the time. So if I'm paying that part to change someone's ignorance, then that makes me happy, because it changes perceptions, and hopefully it'll be beautiful to see the entire continent. I've only just scraped the surface.
I know.
It'll be great to see more of the continent highlighted as a place that could buzz with tourism. How much will that actually change the lives of people living here? So I think of that quite a bit, and I do have hopes for it, and I'll never stop traveling and exploring this beautiful continent, and I'm so glad to have ended it here in Nigeria. So yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And thank you so much for having me. You're awesome. In terms of my next steps,
yes, that's what I was going to ask you.
I think because I sort of set out X amount of time to spend in this beautiful continent, I think it is time to go back soon, within a month. I do plan to come back.
Yes, I'm going to see you again.
Absolutely. I do plan to come back, definitely to Gambia, because as I mentioned, I'm working with an NGO there, and to meet the team and stuff who've been, paying me very well and trusting me to work with their really awesome organisation, and because I love Gambia so much, and to connect with my friends there, and just vibe and have a good time. But the thing about future travel, I'm not making solid plans because we can't in this climate.
No, we definitely cannot.
So people that are saying, I'm going here, I say with future travel in the continent, which has been the least affected by this pandemic out of any other part of the world, things are very sporadic. So if you are planning to travel, if it's later this year or next year, just keep an eye out, because Nigeria's airports, which have been closed for 4 months, are still deliberating on future planning of what they're going to do. We've got December around the corner, where a lot of people come to Lagos and Accra to spend their Christmas holidays. So just keep an eye out. But if I have to go back to the UK and not travel for the rest of the year, it's cool, because I've not seen the UK for how many months. So it's cool. Family, friends, chill, continue working, continue reporting on amazing stories about this continent, which I love so much, and just continue to be grateful for the remaining of 2020, which will be blessed.
Yes. I love that, Hannah.